Okay, let's get started. I wanted to work on a bigger collage, and instead of going out to buy a big canvas, I went down to my basement where I have lots of older work that I have decided does not warrant being on the wall. It goes into the basement. I'm going to show you how I take an old artwork and prepare it for a brand new day. This is the painting. Ta-da! This is when I just first started in my art style and started painting also with acrylics. And today I look at this and it's very unfinished. It has absolutely no depth. It has some of the beginnings of the shapes I still use today. Same theme, but I don't like it enough to hang it up on the wall. So I feel perfectly okay with covering it. Now, if I was going to paint with acrylic again, I would just paint over this with gesso or a white acrylic paint and start again. But since I'm doing collage, I don't have to do that. I always like to start my collage work with a white watercolor background because it's made of paper and I feel it just matches better with the paper that I'm putting on top. So you can collage, of course, directly onto a canvas, directly onto a wooden board, but I like to cover it with the paper first. This is a wooden framed board. I bought like this. I got this I'm in Canada. I got this at Desserts. You can probably get them anywhere, really, where they sell art supplies. Or you can make your own, which one day I will do because these are very expensive. Canvases are very expensive. And I know you can buy your own plywood and some people make their own frames. I just don't have the tools to cut angles. But yeah, it'd be a good idea to get into that if I start making bigger and bigger artwork. For the last batch of these little resin pieces I made, I glued the watercolor paper, which is here. I have a big piece of watercolor paper. And I glued the watercolor paper onto the wooden frame with this Yes paste. And that did work quite well. However, on some of the pieces, it left channels. The paper raised and the paste dried. And yeah, I didn't really like the result. But this is the same. See, this is the watercolor paper in the back. You probably can't see it, that I've painted and collaged on top of. And then this one is covered in resin. I'm now trying this. I tried it with a couple of other boards and it glued on really, really well. Mod Podge paper. You could probably use any other kind of Mod Podge. You could probably use matte medium and it would glue down. I haven't tried it. This really works well. Let me show you one that I did already. So this is a piece I made yesterday using the Mod Podge paper. And this is so perfectly glued down to this board. Look at the corners. Even the corners are perfect and it's flat. There's a couple of little sections here, but it's still not perfectly dry, so there's still a chance for it. What I used to do was measure the piece of paper and cut the piece of watercolor paper out exactly and then try to glue it down. But it would especially when you're dealing with a bigger canvas, it's hard to glue it down perfectly straight. Once it's sort of glued on one side, it's hard to twist it to get all the sides lined up. It's a good idea to cut it close to the right size that you need, but leave paper on all the sides around the whole canvas, and then cut it with an X-Acto knife after. That's what I did with that one. Put the glue or the Mod Podge, the medium, on both surfaces. So I'm going to put it on my board and on my paper before I glue them together. So I'm going to have to work a bit quickly so it doesn't start drying. So I have my glue ready. Yeah, I can open it. And I have an old credit card or an old plastic something. And let's get started. Goodbye, old artwork. I think the key is when you are going to cover your old work, take a picture of it just in case to have, put it in a folder so you can still see your evolution. That's nice to have. Goodbye. This is another helping me learn to not stay attached to things. And it says to do a thin layer, but we'll start with that. That's pretty good. And just move that around. And I just really want to make sure I go right to the edges. And which I forgot, when you're done and after you glue it, you should have a wet cloth ready to pick up the edges of the glue that's going to smoosh out, and not use a paper towel like I did, because it comes off on my on the black edges that I painted black. All right, here we go. Squish that all over. Just want to build up the edges a little bit. Not have too much in the middle because I don't want it to bubble. I'm just really trying to make it flat. And just lean it against my desk here, the finished gluey piece. And quickly grab my paper. Which side do I want for the front? That side. Oh shoot, that's way too much. That's way too much. But what's nice about these, you can just scoop it right up. Oh my goodness, I'm making such a mess. Okay. It's all right. Let's just work quickly. I really want it everywhere that I think it's going to touch. Okay. I used way too much here. Really make good corners. Okay. Woo! All right, and now I'm going to pick some up because I used way too much. Scoop. Scoop. So I'm really taking most of it out. Okay, I'm going to put it down. It doesn't matter which way, obviously, because I want to squish out the air bubbles as I place it down. So that's why I want it this direction. And try not to have a gluey hand because you will smear it. And I'm just doing it with my hand, back and forth. Flattening, and any air in there at all, and just continue to flatten it like that, especially getting around those edges. And even it's okay if I'm sort of pushing it so I can see the edges. I'm making a bit of a crease. Just then I'm sure it's gone to the edges. Okay, this is perfect. There's not a single air bubble in this. This is my best yet. This is the third one I've done of these bigger canvases. Okay, this feels really good to me. Now, what you want to do, what I did last time, oh, I gotta clean this. Hang on, I gotta take a break here. This is too wasteful for me. This Mod Podge paper I bought at Michael's with a 50% off coupon. They rarely have 50% off coupons anymore at Michael's. So when they have one, I like go every day and buy things that I think I'm gonna need or that I need with that coupon. Okay, that's cleaned up nicely. All right, so what you want to do now is cut the edges. You will need one of these self-healing cutting mats that's bigger than your artwork. All right, I got my wet rag ready to go. Put that there, and you need an X-Acto knife. A little precision blade or X-Acto knife, and you're just going to cut, holding this down firmly. You're just going to cut along the edge and run the edge of the blade here along the wood of the frame. So I almost hook it underneath and drag. It cuts it perfectly on the edge, and you want to then get the glue. You don't want the glue to dry on there because you'll see it. I am going to be covering this with resin, but I still don't want the glue to come out. Okay, and I'm going to do that to each side. That's done. Let's clean the glue off my blade. Clean the glue off all the edges. And you could probably do this once it's dry, but why I like to do it now is so I can see the glue. I don't want the glue to dry on the edges at all. So I'm going to do that right away. Okay. And that's pretty good. One of them, you can see here, I scooped a little bit under with my knife and I hacked out a little too far there on the bottom of this side. For me, with my art style, it doesn't matter. I'll be covering that up with collage paper anyway, but you might want to be a little more careful than I was. The next thing that's really important is this has to dry with weight on top of it. I'll just show you how you do it. So you put it down like that and then get some books, some weights, and weigh this down for overnight. So I'm going to use these. There we go. And there we go. And tomorrow it should be stuck on there perfectly like my other ones. I found this in the basement, which, you know, I'm looking at it and there's a reason it's in the basement and not on my wall. I can probably fix that. I think it'd be fun to try fixing that. So I'm really happy with how my canvas panel turned out. It has been drying for almost 24 hours, and the glue, because it was pressed onto plastic with the books on top and the weights on top, it's not dry. It's almost dry. It's very firmly stuck now, so I don't think it's going to peel off, but now is the chance to really flatten it perfectly because the glue is still damp, and it should just dry perfectly lying up there against my wall. I would rather keep improving this one, working on this one, than start a blank canvas. Oh, blank canvases are scary. But when I do start it, let's start it together, and I can show you a little bit of my process of how I throw myself into it and take away a little bit of that fear factor of the blank page. That will be coming up in a future video. I hope I see you again soon, and take care. Have a great day. Bye. A blank canvas. How do you make a thumbnail of a blank canvas? We'll see what I do.